All right, guys, we are entering the last week. This is heading into week 9. So I just want to post a quick video review for exam 3. You know the format by now. It's available till next Sunday, which would be the 13th. But here's the important thing. The video, or excuse me, exam 3 and the makeup exam for extra credit. I'll go over that in a sec. They both close at 6 p.m. instead of midnight. I got to do that because I'm putting grades in Monday the 14th. So I don't have a lot of time to, in case there's technical issues. You'll have to let me know, and Sunday night we'll have to deal with it. I can't do anybody a retake or keep the exam open past Monday because I'm putting in grades and then I'm gone. So just to go over when everything is due, your final, you have the option. Okay, sorry. Discussion question 15 is due on Saturday. There is an extra credit discussion question for 5 possible points that's due, but I need it by 2 p.m. so I have time to read it. Now, unfortunately, because of the speed of the class, I'm not going to be able to get everybody's. I will read the discussion question 15 and the extra credit exam, but I don't have time on next weekend to comment on everybody's. It takes me about 3.5 hours to comment on everybody's discussion questions. But that's for the extra credit and discussion question 15. So discussion question 15 is due Saturday by midnight. The extra credit it is due Sunday the 13th by 2 p.m. so I can read it. The exam 3, both parts, and the extra credit makeup, if you choose to do it, are both due then on that Sunday the 13th by 6 p.m. So I just want to be clear on everything. So exam 3 covers lessons 11 through 15. You know the format by now. You know what to look for. I'll just go over some basic issues here. We cover one big area in exam 3, which is postmodernism. And within that, we have 2 little areas, postcolonialism and minimalism, that are both covered in lesson 15. So make sure you know the definitions of those. A lot of the questions in exam 1 are, again, which of the following is not a characteristic? So know the basic definition of postmodernism, know the basic definition of minimalism, know its characteristics, know the present tense, know that sense of disconnection. Post-colonialism, know that we're talking sort of ethnic literature. Just keep going over the notes, write yourself definition of everything, make sure you know those characteristics. Any terms that pop up in the lessons, techniques with dos passos, you want to know the newsreel, the camera eye, even if those elements aren't specifically in the body of an American, which is our reading. I want you to know those and know what he does with those. Steinbeck, the phalanx, any of the textual details, like in Faulkner, what, obviously the barn gets burnt, but what happens to Sardi at the end, any of the characters' names, the whole business about the bushels, just basically know all the textual details. In terms of confessional poetry, I will not ask you which is more or less confessional, because that's kind of subjective. However, there are specific questions in there, like it might say which of the following terms might apply to Bishop as opposed to Lowell, and I would expect you to recognize that in the notes I use the term observational confessional poet as opposed to experiential, something like that. Know the names of anybody that's mentioned in either Howell or a supermarket in California. I could say, which of the following poets does Allen Ginsberg not mention in Supermarket in California? And I would expect you to recognize Walt Whitman, Neruda, and then maybe give you one that hadn't, was incorrect, obviously incorrect. Know who Carl Solomon was and Howl. Know the god, that the sort of satanic god that gets called upon. And that's, again, that's in the note. Lady Lazarus, Daddy, know the basic lines, be able to recognize the most famous lines. If I were to give you a passage out of Marianne Moore's The Fish and say which of the following poets wrote this, I would expect you to be able to recognize that as hers. In terms of the 1950s, just again, know the basic characters and plot points. Know, for example, what Holga represents in Good Country People. Know what Manly Pointer represents. In The Swimmer, the theme is basic enough. Know what the main point of it is. When you get into the postmodernism, know all those definitions, know the basic idea behind Schrodinger's cat, know what that experiment is about. It won't ask you what's in the box. That should seem obvious enough. But it might ask you, sort of explain this, which of the following explains the experiment. Know the basic reason that Kurt Vonnegut was using science fiction techniques like time travel. Know the Dresden fire story for him. Definitely in Pynchon, know the definition of entropy. Know the basic characteristics of post-colonialism and postmodernism in Lahiri's Sexy, in Carver's Cathedral, and then in the Hoodoo Manifesto. Again, all basic info out of the notes. For the exam 2, for the reading comprehension, again, just know the basic plot points, know what happens in each text, know the names, know any sort of big events that happen. It might ask you, for example, in entropy, the following characters are doing what, and just know which characters are, kind of building the, which ones are throwing the party and which ones are building the sort of hermetically sealed bubble. Know the stolen leg and Good Country People. That might be an easy question to come up with for the reading comprehension. Again, it's all pretty straightforward at this point. The extra credit exam gives you the most missed questions out of exam 1 and 2, part 2. So be thinking about what you might have missed. Again, those are just kind of give me questions. You can take that, it's 15 points. That goes right on top of your final grade. Now, when you look in the grade book, you may see that it says there's a possible number of points of like 120, but that's not the case. I do it on a straight 100 scale in my mind. So if you end up, after doing the extra credit, you end up with 99, but it says 99 out of 120. In my mind, it's 99 out of 100. I just can't figure out in Canvas yet how to give you points without telling it how many points count. So it's a little frustrating, but just calculate by points. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, etc. Don't look at the percentages of your grade. That's not, I don't do anything weighted or anything with percentages. Straight point scale. Please do remember that everybody gets 2 extra points just for filling in the class evals, but that due date is coming up. And last time I checked, I haven't checked since like Monday, but last time I checked, we only had about 20%. So please go in there and do that. You don't want to be the one person, I wouldn't know who you are, but you don't want to be the one person that doesn't fill out an eval and cost the entire class 2 points. So I'll send out some reminders this week to get that done. Otherwise, I think we should be in good shape. Again, just keep the deadlines in mind. Once we get to the last week of class, there's not a lot of time for extras. So make sure that you get your questions in on time. There, one thing about the extra credit, keep in mind that if you have not done the discussion questions, you can't do the extra credit. In other words, you can't skip the discussion questions all term long and then make up the extra credit to make up those 25 points. So the basic rule is now I know some of you have done the discussion questions loyally and maybe missed one or two across the 15, but if you've missed, I would say, more than if you've done less than 11 of the discussion questions, I'm not gonna count the extra credit for you. It's just not fair to everybody that's been cranking out 2 discussion questions a week to let you make up those points. So that's only for folks that have completed 12 or more of the 15 extra credit or of the discussion questions. Sorry if that doesn't sound fair, but in my mind it's fair to everybody that's been doing discussion questions, and that is the majority of the class. All right, if you have any questions, go ahead and email me. Otherwise, you should be all set. We'll wrap up the class. I will send out reminders about when the exam closes and everything, but every term I do have people texting me at 7 p.m. Sunday night, I went to take the exam and it closed. So this is your fair warning. The exam, the extra credit, closes at 6 p.m. I'll be starting to read the discussion question, the extra credit discussion question, and putting in final grades on that and discussion questions 11 through 15. Well, 11 through 15 I'll be doing Sunday morning first thing, but the extra credit I'll probably start reading right about 3 o'clock. So no takers after 2 o'clock. All right, again, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a good weekend.